ahead and switch to probably the only topic really worth talking about today. There's a lot of stuff going on, don't get me wrong, but on the specific day of the invasion of Venezuela and the capturing of its president Maduro and his wife, and the extradition of them forcefully from Venezuela to New York, where the big time international cases in the United States are tried. Um,
Uh-huh.
I feel like on that day, what else can you talk about? I mean, we are effectively effectively at war, but then we've also declared victory on that war and said we are going to run Venezuela all on the same day.
Uh-huh.
Uh,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. While further suggesting that Mexico better sleep with one eye open.
and Cuba,
And
oh,
uh and
Cuba, you better
Cuba
watch
and
your ass,
Cuba
Cuba
and Panama again. We're also throwing
and
that one
Panama.
back out there.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
And we're throwing a side eye over toward Greenland again as well. So
Hmm. Hmm.
we're
And
really
possibly
wanting to
Canada
put
too.
our fingers in a lot of pies. Yeah.
Greenland puts,
But
I
yeah.
think acquisition of Green, like if we look at it from like it's we're playing a game of Risk. You
Yeah, yeah.
take Greenland, and Canada is, at least parts of Canada are pinched in
Yeah.
between the
Greenland
fingers
is
of
a
the dictator.
strategic coup for sure.
Yeah. Um yeah. Yeah, the whole, I don't know, the spreading anger, the spreading anger, like the expression of it rather, and belligerence from this administration, and the way that it wants to pull resources and riches and power to itself. We've been saying this for
And
God, like months now, like 5 months for sure. It feels desperate. It feels like they know something about the end is nigh that we don't, because this seems so quick. Like all of it's been a
very, very,
year.
very in-game power move, like now or never kind of,
Yeah.
which I
Yeah.
think is partially a product of them being just up against the wall on the Epstein issue. Like part of
Yeah.
it is very much the tail wagging the dog on that one. But I think again, like I think this speaks to because they're very much wanting to go back to that zone of influence sort of worldview where we're going to have everything on the Western Hemisphere on lockdown.
Mhm.
And fucking whatever, fuck the rest of the world over there. They can let China do what it wants and let Russia do what it wants. But so we're kind of going back to that model. Hold on, I'll take a little sip of
We're
this
going back
here.
to that
Sort
model, I think, at the behest of Putin. That's a Putin project.
mm-hmm.
He
Mm-hmm.
wants that desperately, though he doesn't have an answer for the as far as his sphere of
Fucking
influence.
bingo.
He doesn't
I
have an
was gonna
answer
say this
for the
ties
quote.
directly back in. Oh yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
I was to say he doesn't have an answer for the quote unquote China problem. Outside of just saying, all right, China, if there are if the rest of the world would call them Asian, that's you. I'm taking Europe.
Yeah,
And we can
he
argue
kind of
about
does
Africa
have an
later.
answer
That's
to the
fine.
China problem.
Hmm.
He has a very strong ally, surprisingly, in India. Russia and India have a very strong historic, at very least, absolute non-hostility to one another,
Hmm.
if not and outright open companionship. Even they've in fact been one of Russia's kind of backdoor lifelines to get around sanctions and shit.
Hmm. I mean,
So I mean that's a pretty big counterbalance right there to China if that's their geopolitical foe or that they're dealing with in their little sphere of influence.
yeah. I mean, like the acquisition of India as an ally, at least in that space, does help a lot in slowing, if nothing else, slowing China's expansion through their sphere of influence. And also, when you think about listen, there's a lot of things that get done in Taiwan that I think are not understood at all
Huge,
by people in the United States, as far
huge.
as
We don't
manufacturing.
understand. Yeah, most people don't appreciate the vast amount of shit that does out of Taiwan. Like it
But
is huge geopolitically.
Taiwan is the focus. But for China, as far as
I did
their
want to
their
say real quick though
next base
before
in the
we
Strait of Taiwan.
before we jumped away from this, I think this very much because you mentioned Putin. This very much ties back directly to uh, the foundation of geopolitics, the Russian playbook, and even to the whole internally to the whole um, tech bro, city state, neo
Mhm,
feudal sort of mindset. They both
mhm,
are kind of that more insular, local influence, isolationist to broadly the rest of the world
mhm.
sort of mindset. I think those two things kind of play on one another.
Yeah, I think there's some of that in that, to a degree, but the thing is, okay, so, man, I actually have a whole bunch of notes about this already written up. Just I think this is actually good to talk about as kind of like, what I want to get into is I kind of want to just let Trump's press conference guide a lot our conversation about Venezuela and specifically what happened today. But I
Oh fuck
think
yeah!
that
Let's
as a preface to that, this topic that we're on, I think, is actually rich and I think very useful for people to have
okay.
an understanding of when they start to listen to Donald Trump pontificate about the great success that we had apparently the super
Yeah, yeah.
macho, strong, super good looking military men out there, taking down the
Oh, well,
Venezuelan government.
as our brave Secretary of War said, they fucked around and found out.
They
I mean, he had the good grace to not say fuck on national television in that situation.
still, God, uh, but
That from the mouth of our fucking Secretary of War now. They FA'd and they found out. I believe
as long as
is
we keep calling him secretary, I still feel like
I
he thinks his balls are even smaller than they really are.
think
Like
so.
it really hurts
I'm
him.
sure that I'm sure that word bugs them on some level. I They can't pull their brain away from the word secretary and associating that with like the dude that their dad was fucking at the car lot that he owned.
What am I, a woman? Oh, you call me a secretary? Think I'm just some
You
bitch
know
like
that is
Pam
in their
Bondi?
stupid fucking
Absolutely. Of course it is. Of course it is.
you know that's in their fucking lizard jock brain somewhere.
Yes. It's like not even a question.
Okay,
But no, I
those
think
are
I
on the
think
same page
this
there. Yeah.
I think this again this what happened today is much bigger than deposing somebody that sucks because I think it's unequivocal without a
Absolutely.
question that Maduro sucks. Maduro sucks.
100%.
He
I mean, virtual everyone on Earth agrees with that. Like,
Yeah, like and you know, I was actually going to start the very cynically start the podcast off with a clip, which was I was going to introduce as people celebrating in Venezuela, but it was actually going to be uh, Iraq 2003. I think it's December
I
15th. Is that when we picked up Saddam? Um, Something like that.
believe
But
so. The statue
it's
being
just
toppled, is that what you were gonna go with? Was that in there?
great celebrations, fantastic celebrations in Iraq, and then
As long as there's a
oh,
mission accomplished
civil
banner up
war,
there.
right? And and the way that this has been handled, and we'll get into that later too. The way that this is being handled by the Trump administration, as far as how they've already sold it, it looks like they've basically said we're taking shit, we're leaving, and then good luck, Venezuela. But what's happening today is bigger than just Venezuela. It is a complete um
100%.
upsetting of the the remnants of the international order, the international rule of law that at least attempted to prevent international conflicts, uh, largely through the UN after World War II. But and I will say it's hard. People are very cynical about the UN, rightly so. It's hard to gauge though what kind of success the UN actually had in preventing international disputes and conflicts when you consider how warlike humans just are in general. There were going to be a lot of wars no matter who, no matter what structure was put into place. But so much
Absolutely,
of
but
what's
that
happening in
trend had been
Venezuela is
bending downward in through history. Like, it's easy to think that, like, we're in a more warlike state than we've ever been,
sure, yeah.
historically, but that's absolutely not the case. I think more people, as a percentage of the whole, globally, and at least especially in the Western and in the first world countries, don't experience warfare like they would in centuries past
I
across the
mean,
globe. Like,
if you look at the time period since the end of World War II, let's be generous and call
yeah,
that the
keep it
establishment.
current.
Yeah, we'll say that we'll call that generously the start of
Modern era.
the modern international rule of law about warfare, about
And that's
forcefully.
absolutely the case. Like, a lot of the rules that we live by today were established,
Yeah,
if not codified, in that time period.
if you take that same amount of time and drop it in the medieval period, right? If you drop it in periods of civil strife in Africa, um you're gonna find probably about the same number of wars, about the same number of conflicts at least started. Like I said, if there's 1,000, like if 100 years ago or 500 years ago rather, there would have been 1,000 wars, 1,000 wars or genocides or international conflicts or whatever you might classify these things. The
Yeah, yeah.
definitions are so nebulous. Um, since World War II, there might have been 900, right? Like we may
Yeah.
have stopped
As
some
the
of them.
population has expanded dramatically. Like,
Yeah.
those numbers of wars are steadying to going down while the population is exploding,
Hmm. Hmm.
which is a big part of the equation, like, as far as just broader impact that war has on the average person on the planet.
And I think also just setting aside inherent weaknesses of the UN, one of those inherent weaknesses
Mm.
being the positioning of the United States as sort of like the cornerstone of the United Nations. Um, there's it's particularly concerning to see uh Trump like upset this world order because of the implications that it has when you're talking about the spheres of influence kind of perspective. Eh, when you have this kind of contraction of superpowers and they pull into themselves, it's temporary. This
Mhm,
pulling
mhm,
into ourselves, into our spheres of influence in the United States, maybe taking over, what a lot of people will call the Western world, or at least the west of the Atlantic world, Latin
mhm.
America, Canada, potentially Greenland, Iceland, etc. Um, that contraction is one from global hegemony, which is a position that the United States has largely enjoyed for uh, like
Yes.
certain like 40 years easily, if not longer.
Post World War II, largely, if not entirely, in the more modern era, most that just because of it's hard to overstate how incredibly strong our naval superiority is at a global level right now. Like,
Mhm.
we have every nuclear aircraft carrier on the planet currently in service is American.
Mhm.
We have the only blue water navy on the entire planet. We can extend our power dramatically anywhere on Earth within hours in ways
Mhm.
that no other country can. Like we are absolutely unrivaled by really the entirety of the world combined against us in that one aspect.
There
Total
are
troop
two N
numbers,
words,
no.
and you
Total
can't use
spending,
either of them.
there, there are two N words, buddy.
what's the other one?
uh, nuclear.
Um, oh,
The scariest word.
I call it
I
the
feel
N
like I can
word.
say that.
I call it the N word.
Jesus Christ. I didn't even realize that's what I'd heard. Fuck that guy. God fucking damn it. I hate that voice so fucking much. Oh, I hate it.
He's the worst. It's in every way, like demonstrably the worst.
Yes, 100%.
No, you're
He's
you're
a
right though.
fucking
Like
child fucker. Like,
eh, you're right though. Like the United States. I mean, listen, we are still in a position of if you look at our expenditures on the military, we dwarf the rest of the world. Like it's obscene. It's absolutely obscene. But we've also gotten to a point where we have to recognize that the world is so interconnected economically and otherwise
absolutely.
in a way that when we established that dominance, the world was not. It was still interconnected through trade and travel and things like that, but information moving as quickly as it does now and commerce
Yeah.
moving as quickly as it does now over the internet changes the game such that
Radically. It's increased at a geometric pace. Like that has continued just so rapidly.
and it's impossible to maintain that global hegemony through just those expressions of military power when that's the environment you live in without actually having a physical presence in every country. Like you can't just like I don't know, it just doesn't the map of the world doesn't move the same way anymore. The most
Yeah.
powerful navy the world's ever seen is still extremely potent as a factor in these things, but it's not
But
enough
imagine
anymore.
that force without any sort of constraint behind it. Imagine that
Right.
force not needing congressional authorization to send a few nuclear warships right over to wherever we want to put them and really use that extended power. It's been there
Mhm.
as a threat historically for all these decades now. Not just as a threat, but also to like literally in concrete ways, like maintain the world order for shipping lanes, what have you, all that shit.
Mhm. Mhm.
But now that dog is unmuzzled and that fucking thing could bite at any moment, it's a game changer. Like
Mhm.
I can't imagine seeing this from other places throughout the world's perspective. Like it to me, it feels like we just invaded Poland. Like
I yeah, like there is some of that feeling for sure. Like it's a bigger I feel like it's a bigger moment than some people are actually going to give it credit for a while, which is
it's
incredible to
yeah,
say because it's such a we've been when you talk about a military that's unfettered, a navy that's unfettered, we've been blowing people up in the fucking Caribbean and the Pacific to the tune of like 29, 30 strikes
yeah.
without congressional approval, without legal
Nobody stopped that
justification,
shit now,
without
so
due
keep going.
process. Right, exactly. We've
Everything
still faced
precedes
the most
something bigger. Like it's
and it's a little trite in some ways to bring up like comparisons between Venezuela and Iraq, but at least with Iraq, we like pretended enough to be the victims of situations that we got ourselves into a war in response to a terrorist attack with another country before we invaded
Yeah.
Iraq. With Venezuela, we're like, you know what? You're narco terrorists, and we're just going to kill you. And we just started killing people, and then
Yeah.
we captured a president
And then we said
because
before we
he's a
even
narco
did
terrorist.
that, hey, we're going to take the oil. Yeah. You know what? Yeah,
That
we are straight up telling you that we are doing this to take this natural resource.
Mhm.
Somehow we're justifying and claiming as ours. The oil in your country belongs to us because
that's part of
international
the
companies that are based in America invested money to build these structures. So that means that everything in your country belongs to us.
that's the sphere of influence thing, man.
How are
That's
we
the
not the
sphere of
baddies in
influence
that?
thing.
How are
It
we
is.
not the baddies there? Like,
We have absolute, without question, military control over things that happen in the Gulf of Mexico. So
yeah,
therefore, resources in the Gulf of Mexico, resources near the Gulf of Mexico, those are ours. That shit's ours. Because what the fuck are you gonna do about it? Like, it is so might makes right, sphere of influence kind of like contraction, like you're saying before. And
100%.
that's that's entirely the justification for it. Like, there's no
Cuba
other.
has to be shitting their fucking pants right now.
Oh
I
yes.
can't
Yeah.
imagine being a fucking Cuban right now. Jesus.
With I mean, with Marco Rubio just salivating,
Oh
just
god.
absolute, like,
Ugh.
hard as a fucking diamond standing behind the president talking
Yeah.
about all this
And you know
shit.
what? Like, you know what? One of the fucking unfortunate side effects of this shit is it's gonna help them economically. This is gonna provide a certain amount of economic stimulus. 'Cause it's gonna be putting a whole shitload of money directly into the pockets of Raytheon and Boeing and all of these other countries, like the fucking excuse me, goodness. The the war machine's gonna be taking in a lot of money and spending a lot of money in all these congressional districts, and like it's gonna create a lot of economic activity, at least on the short term, which is gonna fuel this bubble that's already been building and is probably past due for crashing and would probably otherwise be in the process of crashing without this giant shakeup slash stimulus package for the energy and arms sector, especially.
Mhm. Mhm. I mean,
Like,
the, economic crashes happen because economists say they're happening. And when economists
ooh,
are actively threatened by a president for a decade and a half, when they're like before he was running, in the middle of Obama's term, before that even, Donald Trump was talking shit about economists, about liberal economists, about the government
yeah,
fixing numbers and shit like that. And of course, it's all projection. It ends up being massive projection when we're in this position where they're actively suppressing government economist numbers. They're actively suppressing government figures that are the result of statistics data that
we're
they
engineering
gather.
government shutdowns to avoid releasing economic data because it looks
Right.
bad. So we're at the very least like allowing government shutdowns to carry on longer to keep that fudge going.
Right. Like,
Man,
the only reason why we're not in a recession is because not or not in a more deleterious economic position is because the mainstream media, that is what, like, we got fucking Barry Weiss running CBS now, fucking conservative hack
CBS is no better than
contrarian.
Fox News 2.0 at this
They're
point.
done. They're done. They're cooked. They're completely cooked. They're out of here. Like, their reason for existing means nothing with Barry Weiss there. Just a professional
100%.
contrarian that only exists to talk shit on a wide array of targets and provide nothing, no meaningful
Everyone at
information.
60 Minutes should resign en masse.
Absolutely, I agree.
CBS should just go.
But when
60 Minutes, I should say, should just go dark.
you've got a media that's captured, and you've got a government that
100%.
doesn't release accurate information or information at all, and you got a president that overtly threatens economists the same way that, frankly speaking, in a lot of ways that Hitler was fucking threatening communists. Who the fuck's going to say that Trump's doing a bad job? It's going to be a small number of people, and it's not going to get that much airtime. But it's so obvious on the economy how terrible a job that Donald Trump is doing
But yeah, like
that
you said, that's a great
it still
point.
comes
They're
up a
taking
little
that
bit.
Fox News. They're taking that Fox News level of media control to the broader media. Like they're going to
Mhm,
have that influence over the media landscape that they have enjoyed over the viewership of Fox News, which was
mhm,
the largest portion of the media landscape. But
mhm,
they're going to be able to take that across the board largely. I mean, like the legacy
mhm.
media in its entirety at this point is fucking like it's all fucking done,
We'll
and
get
you're
into a little
not
bit.
gonna have. Yeah, we can.
Oh,
uh,
I was saying we'll get into some of that a little bit later, but it's specifically because I think I have some clips for it. I might not have linked them. I was looking at them. I was watching them, but just the way that the quote unquote liberal media is talking about. Well, I don't know if we should
Is it
have
all bad, guys? Oh,
invaded.
gee.
Yeah, I don't know if we should have invaded Venezuela, but Maduro is a bad guy.
Right?
So,
Man, I was
like,
feeling a lot of that just scrolling through Reddit and looking at just the feeds on your Googles or like it's yeah, the whitewashing in real time is obvious for anybody that cares to see it.
and like it would have actually been so easy if Donald Trump cared about replacing Maduro without expressing unilateral like United States militaristic control over Venezuela and an expression of our ability to swoop into a place after we've installed CIA agents into it to destabilize and build intelligence contacts inside of the military to allow this kind of operation to even happen in the first place. If like this expression
It's not
of
like we
might
have any history doing that before. We've never done a thing like that in the past.
especially especially south especially south of Florida. Like we don't do that shit around, no.
Oh
But
goodness.
if Donald Trump cared about just getting rid of Maduro, he could have very easily worked out a diplomatic relationship with with our ally in maintaining the international order, the international rule of law, Europe, basically all of Europe, every European country, and several African countries, several South American countries, Canada, and Mexico,
Absolutely.
and brought about meaningful international consequences on the Maduro regime without having to bomb anybody, without having to blow up Hugo Chavez's mausoleum, I guess is something that they fucking did, which is crazy as fuck. Like you wouldn't have to do any of that shit
That's just it. Like
just by talking to people and maintaining the diplomatic relationships that we have fucking had for 80 fucking years. And and you would be able to get
okay.
Machado, I think her name is the person
Uh-huh.
that won the last
But
election
who
in
is
Venezuela.
missing right now?
No, Machado's there. Machado's around.
Is she,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
okay.
She's made
Oh no, I'm
statements.
sorry.
It was the vice
I thought you
president.
sort of. Yeah,
It was the
yeah. I thought you were. Yeah.
who actually has been around, who's made statements as well, basically saying that the only president that Venezuela has is
Yeah.
Maduro. But
Yeah.
you would have been able to use those international diplomatic relations to put pressure on Venezuela for the regime change that seems to have been electorally mandated. in
Yeah.
Venezuela.
There's easy ways they could have gone about it, and it seems like this is a pattern that's repeated itself. There are things that, like, look at them with just a little bit of hindsight, and even in real time, like, there's some no-brainer ways out of this. There's some things that if your interest was, or if your goal was what was in the best interest of the average American, like, okay, these are some real no-brainers.
Hmm.
But if that wasn't your goal, if say your goal was whatever benefits a certain foreign actor, then our actions make a lot more sense.
A ton more.
Almost every one of these things that seem like slam dunks that we're somehow just whiffing on and somehow misattributing to stupidity or any other form of just ignorance, whatever. Maybe it's not. Maybe we're just misattributing the motivation here.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, you know, uh, Rachel Maddow, uh, suffered from a situation, I think, in some ways in her career, in the first Trump administration, of it being like Trump's actions being indistinguishable from the will of Putin. And
Yeah.
and it's one of those things like we talked about this before with George Carlin. George Carlin had it right. You don't need a conspiracy when related co-aligned interests converge. You don't need an overt conspiracy of you don't need Melania Trump to be a Russian agent that was sold to Donald
Yeah.
to buy his complicity to Putin's will. You don't need any of that shit
Yeah.
when you just think about
That's
how these two guys
contrived.
could get rich.
Yeah. Look at every motivating factor on those two ends for this to happen. And it's easy to see that it's going to happen come hell or
Mhm,
high water. You don't need any single one of these particular little contrivances along the way. With
mhm.
these two polar forces still pushing in this direction, the shit's
Mhm.
going to happen either way.
Right.
The everything will be retconned after the fact or massaged to fit where needed to, and it will just chug along because you have these two forces that are aligned on their goal, and bam. Like,
Well, and when you have the
but those
explicit
these little things
when you
are very good like demonstrators, I suppose. Like, yeah, it,
mm,
it seems like a contrivance, and yeah, maybe it's just ridiculous conspiracy theory. Maybe it is actually true. There's an equally decent chance that Melania is actually a fucking overt agent who's essentially Donald's handler. Who knows?
it's kinda like the Epstein thing. It's kinda like the Epstein thing in a way, except the Epstein thing we know from everything that we've seen so far, there is an explicit conspiracy that has
100%.
gone on to
Jeffrey
to
Epstein
suppress
is the co-conspirator.
information and has mhm,
Yeah,
yeah.
that is because Jeffrey
The
Epstein
great
is the co-conspirator. Like, he's the number two man in this situation.
I with all the with all the links and wide reach that Donald Trump has, with the just incredibly high number, the like he prolific in making friends with sex pests and dictators, oddly enough.
Oh gosh,
Like
never.
w-
Right,
with
yeah.
with 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 Epstein being somebody that
Yeah.
is presumably enriched by means that don't make any sense in the bounds of the work he does. That money has to come from somewhere. How could it not come from a billionaire? And Donald Trump conveniently is a billionaire and
Mhm.
has his hands all over this shit and is buddies with this guy. So it's like, how yeah, him like
And it's
Epstein being the
even,
number
he's
2 guy.
also a funnel for even bigger billionaires who
Mhm,
need convenient, I should say, little conduits like a Donald Trump to move money through, who
mhm,
happen to be involved in businesses that are very international, like modeling agencies and real estate.
mhm.
Real convenient way to move big chunks of money
Well,
through. So, like, there's a lot of ways that that little fucking sieve could pay dividends.
and in that kind of, uh, ownership of people through compromise, through, risky business transactions, you see a through line also between how, like, and a direct comparison between how Putin handles people, like how Putin would handle Maduro, and how Putin would handle the president of Honduras, and how we're
Mhm.
likely to see Maduro handled by Trump, and how the president of Honduras was handled. Where the president of Honduras, that motherfucker got off scot free, being a
Yeah.
drug trafficker and all this shit. And the indictment against Maduro, it doesn't say shit about Maduro stole our oil, so that's why we picked him up, or Maduro wouldn't step down after losing the election, so that's why we took him. No, it talks
Yeah.
about drug trafficking, and it talks about owning weapons, and it talks about conveniently owning machine guns, which is hilarious when you think about the United States. Are you fucking serious?
But
We're gonna charge another country's president
how
with
dare you,
weapons,
Venezuela, owning machine guns? Yeah.
yeah, with weapons
Another g
crimes, like, but
What?
yeah,
What?
it,
Our country is the world's weapons manufacturer and distributor and all of huh?
and consumer. I mean, like, we fucking love that
It is
shit. We have
all of it.
so many of
We are the everything. We are the death merchant.
Gun
Oh, heavens to
Nation
Betsy.
bringing an indictment against a former president for owning machine guns is
In his own country.
hilarious. Is
Yeah.
hilarious.
Alright, hold up. Yeah, that is some insanely rich irony. But you know what that irony isn't as rich as? It's not as rich as this chocolate peanut butter porter that I got from Aldi of all places. This one. Oh, oh,
Aldi, hit
there
us
it
up with
is.
that collab. Hit us up with
Oh
that
my
sponsorship,
god.
Aldi.
Yeah, chocolate peanut butter. This shit is fucking amazing. I just cracked into this a second ago. If you need to rewind the video, you'll see me when I took that first drink, settled in the mouth, and then the brain did that. Like, what? And we went back for another. It is fucking stellar.
Yeah, usually you're much
Like,
quicker to respond to things that are settling in your mouth.
I know. Hey, so many have been there. It's desensitized. You don't even notice anymore. God damn, this shit is good. This is this is like on at first blush right up there with something like Revelation Stout from Public House, which I know you've had that I am a huge fan of.
Love
It is in my
Revelation.
top 3 probably. This has a
Yeah.
very similarly complex but smooth quality.
Okay, but I assume sweeter
But
with the peanut
no,
buttery
no,
notes,
it's
or
very smoky. It's oddly
mm,
smoky, but
interesting,
deliciously so. I would have
interesting.
expected sweeter too. Was very pleasantly surprised that it had more of a dark, and I think it gets a real richness from that peanut flavor, but the dark smokiness of the chocolate is just banger.
So, approximately how many six packs of that do you think Maduro will have to buy Donald Trump to get his way out of prison? Like a certain,
Uh,
or out at least, like, listen, he's not getting back into power, but to get himself out from
no,
under
no,
these
no.
indictments, like
A
a former president of Honduras, I feel like it's gonna take a little bit of, you know.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I think he might be able to live out with the I'll throw a six-pack figure out here in a second. I could totally see Trump letting him live a comfortable little exile life here, or setting him up somewhere,
Not here,
or
not here,
or the
because
not
he is.
here, but
Listen,
like
he's still
setting him
not
up
white.
somewhere where we can keep an eye on him, though. Yeah, yes, he's still not white, but
I
we'll set him up on some little island for cost of about
I like
8 million six
revisiting.
packs of that.
I like
8 million of those
idea of
oldie six packs.
8 million. Nah, it's gonna have to be at least
No,
a
maybe
hundred
yeah. All right.
$100 million, right?
Tack a digit on there. Tack a tack a decimal
Like an
point.
order of magnitude on there. Okay,
Yeah, why
80
not?
80 million six packs.
I mean, we're still not even into B numbers, which
Yeah,
honestly, like
yeah,
that could be the squeeze. You got a high value target. You got a fucking head of state here. Yeah.
yeah.
Let's quit child's playing with low ball little numbers like that. And I
Well,
don't know how much of any resource Maduro has access to liquidity wise, but
mhm, mhm.
surely he's got some resources. But yeah,
I
absolutely. You
sure.
know, fucking Trump would take money to just let him go free and somehow claim it was fine. Because at the same time, we are starting a war to stop this fucking drug trade, even though we just fucking pardoned a gigantic player in the fucking drug trade and let him go free because of
Right,
money.
right.
How the fuck
Uh,
does that work? You let an international fucking criminal in the drug trade go free for money while you're claiming that these drugs that are being smuggled in from this country is
someone that we might even call a narco terrorist,
yeah. Yeah, one of
as
those.
is the
That's the term I was
designation
looking
used
for.
to justify all of this. That's the
Uh-huh.
designation that has been used to expand the AUMF to justify
Blowing
all of
boats of
this shit.
marijuana out of the water. Shit that
Yeah.
is legal in this country.
Shit that I like literally I can have
I could go to the
delivered to my
store and buy.
door. I can have it delivered to my door by a dispensary right now, legally and inexpensively. Free delivery.
Mind you.
Like,
Wow.
yeah, it's
I wish
incredible.
we had that in here.
Yeah, right? Yeah, give it time. Give it time. Uh
I'm sure we probably do, honestly.
but
What about
like
free delivery?
you
Weed
could do that
Hub.
shit you could do that shit legally, and it's through the dispensary itself, by the way. The dispensary itself actually
Well,
has
they need to form a fucking partnership with Grubhub and fucking take this shit mainstream and make some serious bank.
they have eschewed that because they don't want to basically acquiesce to the partnership demands of a Grubhub or a DoorDash,
That's smart.
and would rather just do it themselves and keep the ownership and
Good for
employment
them.
local.
Fuck yeah.
You know.
That is some wonderful foresight for a nascent industry that's really just forming in the market.
Hmm.
Huh.
Yeah, I think I did want to kind of put a little cap on it. The first little part of our conversation there, just
The
that this.
Aldi beer part?
Yes, the Aldi beer part, which is, I mean, what else have we really talked about that's important? Um,
I mean, nothing else really.
I can't think of anything. But this, yeah, this action, no matter what's said about Maduro, no matter what happens to Maduro, illegally, no matter what happens as far as the actual regime change potentially in Venezuela, this uh, this continued months long violence in international waters, murdering people, culminating in the kidnapping and forced extradition of the Venezuelan president Maduro. Um, it it definitely is bigger than Venezuela. It is an expression of Putin's desire for a return to these local spheres of influence, where there's basically one local large superpower that dictates the behavior of all the surrounding smaller powers, and the other large superpower fucks off
Ukraine.
and does their shit over there. Yeah, right. Yeah, with Ukraine
Yeah, Ukraine
being
is extra turbo fucked right now, I'm afraid.
right. Yeah, it's
I'm
Ukraine is the
real,
target
real
for
worried for
Russia.
Ukraine.
Ukraine is the target for Russia. Taiwan is the target for China,
Uh-huh.
and Venezuela is the current target for the United States. But under Trump, we have named 7 different fucking targets.
Yeah.
So,
Who knows? Who
but
knows where he goes from here?
the upsetting of that international order does, like I was saying, it breeds this kind of contraction by these superpowers where they focus on um expressions of their power, of their might in a local space to suck up those resources. That contraction is going to eventually lead to one of them saying, well, my sphere of influence is actually the whole fucking world because I've got a bigger dick than you. And then we have a world war.
Well, and like that's always been us, and it's oddly what's kind of prevented there from being much of a world war is we've been a big enough swinging dick globally
Hmm.
that a world war from anyone else's perspective that has us on the other side is not a very enticing option,
Hmm. Hmm.
especially when you consider the nuclear deterrent that herself and Russia provide,
Hmm.
that fucking mutually assured destruction aspect.
Right.
It's oddly held things in check.
Well, and like, yeah, I
Again,
mean,
that
you notice that, like, listen, Donald Trump wasn't in any hurry to send the CIA into North Korea,
oh yeah, right?
right? Like the nuclear
Yeah,
deterrent part of this is a huge. It I think for a lot of people, it maybe even feels like an outdated concept. I think some people don't understand that not every country in the world has access to nuclear weapons. It's
that
just
is
like
true.
I
It's a
think that people.
tiny, tiny little club, especially of the ones that can use it in any sort of global way.
Mhm,
Yeah, there are. I mean, yes, it's a matter of degrees for sure.
mhm. It's kind of
And
like
at a
it's kind
certain
of like
point, it doesn't matter either. Like
it's kind of like
mutually assured
billionaires.
destruction is mutually assured destruction.
It's kind of like billionaires where there's a small number of them, but the power they wield is extremely outsized
Yeah,
compared to the efficacy of the person themselves.
yeah.
It's the same thing with nuclear weapons. The obvious.
Solidarity. Oh, excuse me.
Uh, Yeah, so, but yeah, I think that was just the a big thing I wanted to point out there. But that also does segue as far as the international ramifications beyond the Caribbean,
Yeah,
beyond Latin America, of this. Definitely looking to see what changes in Ukraine. Definitely looking to see what changes with Taiwan. I think that's the one that
yeah.
is very poised for a big shift since Russia's already invaded
Well, yeah, because
Ukraine.
there's nothing going in Taiwan. Taiwan has been safe and stable,
Mhm,
militarily and more importantly, kind of globally, economically. Like
mhm.
it is, man, it's like you said, its importance on the global stage economically with the technology that it's just absolutely central to is hard to overstate.
Um, I did want to point something out that I thought was really interesting, though, in this whole